Welcome to the deep dive. We're here to crack open some really foundational texts and give you the keys to understanding them. Today, our sources point us towards a real heavyweight in Islamic scholarship, a text that's shaped legal thinking for centuries, Sunan Abu Dawood. And our mission for this deep dive is pretty straightforward. We want you to get a solid grasp of what this book is, who put it together, which is an amazing story in itself, and why it's just so essential, especially for jurists working in Islamic law.
Yeah, that focus on the jurist is spot on. When we talk about these major hadith collections, Sunan Abu Dawood is right up there. It's one of the Kutub al-Sitta.
The 6 major books, right?
Exactly. The kind of top tier, you could say. It's a primary source for the Sunnah, the Prophet's way, particularly for Sunni Muslims. It's fundamental for defining practice.
Okay, so a pillar of the tradition. Let's unpack that. If it's such a pillar, we need to start with the architect, right? Who was the compiler? We're talking about Imam Abu Dawood Suleiman ibn al-Ashaq al-Sijistani. He lived 202 to 275 Hijri.
Which is roughly 817 to 889 in the Common Era, mid-3rd century of Islam.
And the sources really emphasize his dedication. I mean, extensive travel, meticulous scholarship. He wasn't just, like, collecting things. He was known for precision, deep knowledge of the chains of narration.
Oh, absolutely. And we really need to pause on the sheer scale of his work, the selection process. It tells you so much about the rigor involved back then.
The numbers are just staggering. He ended up with about 4,800 hadiths in the final Sunan. And that's without repetitions, which is important.
Right.
But he selected those from a pool of around 500,000 hadiths he'd collected over decades.
500,000. Think about that. He's traveling, listening, verifying, cross-referencing, and then filters it all down to less than 1%.
Wow.
It matters because this wasn't just, hoarding everything he found. It was a highly curated selection. He was actively rejecting maybe 99% of the material.
Why, though? Just redundancy.
Well, redundancy, yes, but also known weaknesses in narrators, or critically for this book, because the narration wasn't directly relevant to a legal ruling, to fiqh. It was about building a practical toolkit.
A legal toolkit. That makes sense. I mean, imagine the effort deciding which 4,800 make the cut. That really brings us to the book's main focus then. Its use in Islamic law, fiqh.
Exactly. That's the key differentiator. Some compilers aimed for breadth in terms of reliable sayings on any topic. Abu Dawood, however, primarily focused on hadiths that directly informed practical rulings.
So it's less a general collection, more a legal manual.
Pretty much. It becomes this indispensable reference for jurists, the scholars deriving and applying Islamic law day to day.
And that focus gives it huge status, right? It's ranked 3rd among the Kutub al-Sitta.
Right after the two Sahihs, Bukhari and Muslim.
Which are usually seen as having the absolute highest level of authenticity. So being 3rd is really saying something.
It is, and it tells a story. Bukhari and Muslim might have the edge on, let's say, the absolute perfection of every single chain for establishing core beliefs. But Abu Dawood carries immense weight for legal application. There's actually a famous quote from Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani, a later giant scholar. He said, Abu Dawood in his Sunan is like an imam in fiqh.
Like an imam in fiqh. So the book itself is a guide, a leader in legal thought.
That's the implication. Reading it is like consulting an expert jurist directly. It has that kind of authority.
And that authority lasted.
Absolutely. It wasn't just read, it sparked generations of scholarship. You see countless commentaries written on it, huge, detailed works.
For the examples you mentioned.
Yeah, like Ma'alim al-Sunan by al-Khattabi, or much later, On al-Mabud by al-Azimabadi. These commentaries show jurists constantly wrestling with it, applying it, drawing out its nuances. The conversation never stopped.
That need for commentary suggests there's complexity there, maybe tied to its specific methodology. You said that's what really sets it apart. This is where it gets really interesting, I think. Let's talk structure first. How did he organize it?
Well, that's the first clue. He didn't organize by narrator, like some did, or chronologically. He organized it entirely by fiqh chapters.
Okay.
Like prayer, zakat, fasting, hajj, business transactions, even the really complex legal areas like hudud, the prescribed punishments.
So right away, it's structured for a lawyer, essentially.
Yeah.
Find the topic, find the relevant rulings.
Exactly. It's pre-sorted for legal use. But the really unique part is his inclusion criteria, what he decided to put in.
Right. You said it wasn't just the absolute top-tier authentic hadith, the Sahih ones like Bukhari and Muslim focused on.
Correct. His main filter was legal relevance. Now, most of the hadith are Sahih, the highest grade, or they're Hasan, meaning sound or good.
Okay, what's the difference? Hasan versus Sahih.
Think of Sahih as having a perfect chain of narrators, all top-level, reliable, connected, gold standard. Hassan is still reliable, definitely usable for law, but maybe one narrator in the chain isn't quite at that absolute peak level of memory or reputation, though still trustworthy, still good enough to base a ruling on.
So it's like
Yeah.
maybe Sahih is undisputed Supreme Court precedent,
Yeah.
and Hassan is like a very solid, reliable appellate court ruling you definitely use.
That's a great analogy, actually, yes. Abu Dawood knew that for practical law, you need that breadth. Maybe a very specific point about, say, inheritance only exists in a Hassan report, a jurist needs that, a Sahih-only collection might miss it.
So he prioritized comprehensiveness for legal practice over sticking only to the absolute highest level of chain perfection.
Precisely. Utility was the driving force, but, and this is crucial for his scholarly integrity, he didn't just throw everything in.
Okay.
If he included a narration that was generally considered weak, maybe weaker than Hassan, perhaps because it was the only report on a very niche topic, he often pointed it out.
He flagged it in the text itself.
Yes. He would sometimes comment on the chain, note a weakness. It's like saying, okay, jurists, here's a relevant report, but be aware there's an issue with its chain. Use your judgment.
Wow, that shows incredible honesty. He's providing the tool, but also the user manual, including the warning.
Exactly right. He trusted the expertise of the jurists using his book. It's a very practical, utilitarian approach. Give them all the relevant pieces, even the slightly imperfect ones, but tell them which ones are imperfect.
So, wrapping this up, what does this mean for you, listening? Sunan Abu Dawood isn't just about recording history or theology. It's a functional, working library for Islamic law.
It's this amazing synthesis.